Hi, welcome to Buzz, Indiana's underground business voice. My name is Tony Salzo, and I've got Tim Dixon with Apex Consulting in the studio. Now, consulting, Tim, is a pretty broad term. What does that mean to you? What kind of consulting do you do?
Sure. So Apex Consulting works with business owners and CEOs. The best way I can describe it is we act as a proxy for the CEO or the business owner.
Okay.
So we find that many businesses, they can find specialists in HR and marketing, in finance, but what they have a hard time is replicating themselves.
Okay.
So this really, when they engage with Apex Consulting, they increase their bandwidth. They can get other projects done they might not have been able to address beforehand because they're looking for someone that thinks at their same level,
okay,
high level, broad view, can put an output and work with them as fast as they can.
Okay.
And, oftentimes required to strategically work with suppliers or maybe internally.
So that really is a different paradigm to some of our traditional thinking on consulting,
Sure.
because you're actually doing the work. There's that famous IBM commercial where people go, well, we don't actually do what we recommend. We just recommend it, right?
Absolutely.
So you do the recommendations as well as make the recommendations they need to do.
Yeah, and actually it's kind of a follow-on after 25, 30 years in corporate world working with consultants. I hated to get a stack of paper. That was not good to me.
No.
Okay, I wanted someone that could actually go in and do the work side by side with me at the same level.
Okay.
And so whether you had to dive down into detail or whether you had to work externally with suppliers or customers,
okay,
I wanted someone that could basically shadow me and work with me at my same level.
So give me some examples of where you've done that in the past. I think our viewers are getting it, and I think I get it too. But show me an example where the rubber met the road.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to bring in some concrete examples. So I have one client that's a high-tech company.
Yeah.
They did pretty well the first 3 years. They were selling most of their, it's actually laser equipment, over a web store. And that was their main channel.
Okay.
We talked to their customers, found out that actually the customers used them in a certain manner, and that was really limiting their sales. They needed to get earlier in some of the deployments.
Okay.
So we opened up sales channels into the government, into the service provider market, into large distributors to help them get in earlier on some of these specifications for these large networks and really expand their sales.
Okay.
That's one example.
And you actually made the calls, made the touches in those channels to get some of that going?
Myself and my assistant to do some of the early interaction with the particular customers, do some of the survey work. Yeah.
That brings up my next question. You get involved. Let's say somebody decides they're gonna bring on a new web project, and you're in there. They feel that you have a clear understanding what they want to accomplish. You don't do all that in Apex Consulting, do you?
No, and in fact, that's one of the things. Really, I'm part of an association of other consultants.
Okay.
Basically, the qualifications: you have to be either a CEO, ran a large division of a Fortune 500 company, have that certain level of interaction with another set of your clientele. And within that network, I'm able to pull in experts.
Okay.
For instance, in opening up those sales channels for that client that I mentioned, we hired subcontractors, other consultants that are on the East Coast that had 25, 30 years of experience in selling to the government and selling into the intelligence agencies. So while I'm back working with the client on higher level issues, they're actually doing feet on the street sales with these executives and making the calls and the touches.
So you were able to leverage your network
exactly
to reach deeper into a market that you didn't even have your own feet on the street, and you were to create kind of a pay for performance type deal for you and the client.
Yeah, actually the client benefits significantly because we're pulling in multi-million-dollar contracts. So for them, it's a huge leverage.
Easy to justify your retainer on that level, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So how'd you get into this?
Well, actually, it was a series of events. I was 25, 30 years in high tech, at the executive level for the latter half of that. Okay. Did a couple startups out in California, ran a division of a Fortune 500 company. Took some of my profits, actually moved completely out of that industry, bought a construction company in Dallas, 20-year-old construction company, turned that around, tripled the size of the business, and then we're both, my wife and I are from Indiana, so we decided to semi-retire back here.
Awesome.
And during the time period that I was running the construction company, I was part-time consulting with previous employers, and really enjoyed that activity. Mm-hmm. And so my wife and I, as we moved back, decided to basically take that model and focus on local business here in central Indiana, central Illinois.
So how's it going?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah?
Yeah. Actually, the best part about it is really the success.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're all driven by something different. But being able to actually engage and bring success and in relatively rapid results with clients, that's wonderful feedback.
Well, it's good for you.
Wonderful help.
It's good for the clients. I mean, anytime you can make a difference and you can see them significantly go to another level and make the profits they knew, and you know, for me, I always like creating businesses that get people jobs. I mean, you know, we were just talking the other day, and someone was saying, you know, that unemployment's up to 7.5% right now, and I kept thinking, what keeps going into my mind is, and 4 of those people don't want a job anyways.
Yeah,
you know, so really got to work on the 3, right?
Sure.
So who do you tend to network with? And what makes a good referral partner for you?
Well, actually, I do a lot of work with, and it depends upon the client engagement as to where it's going to help.
Sure.
I do get involved in a lot of the finance and the venture activity here in central Indiana.
Okay.
It's, surprisingly, coming from Silicon Valley and coming back to the Midwest,
you gravitated towards that?
Yeah, and it's a nice surprise. There's a lot of activity going on there. So in some cases that helps.
Okay.
And depending upon, again, the phase of what the client is going through, whether they need financing. Rainmakers does a great job for me. Most of the time it's not in terms of actual clientele, but actually looking at others in Rainmakers that can be part of my network and bring in services.
Sure.
A couple of examples. One person that I engage with is someone that it does graphics design. They do an excellent job, and I've used them with a couple clients and really enjoy that relationship.
Have you thought about like an IP lawyer, intellectual property lawyer, people that are getting maybe license agreements for software? Is that a good? Yeah,
and in fact, lawyers are an excellent, either a corporate lawyer that works with clientele and establishing corporations and contracts, or an IP lawyer. Have a great relationship with one, for instance, in Champaign.
You heard it here. If we can get you some good IP lawyers, put those in your connections. I think Tim's a great recommendation for anybody that needs. For me, you know, when you were going through your elevator pitch, I was like, man, if I could replicate myself right now, so you know, we could go ramp up new Rainmakers in other states. How valuable would that be? So that whole the difference that you actually will do the recommendations that you tell your clients to do. I mean, I think that's a huge differentiator right now in consulting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you got one chance here to ask Rainmakers and everybody out there in Cyberland what you're looking to help accomplish your goal for 2009. What would it be?
Oh wow, that puts me on the spot.
Yeah.
You know, I want to reach out. If you know other businesses that do need help, and frankly, at a time when the economy is bad, it actually is very good for my business.
Sure.
But, you know, if there are those that you see that might need a little bit of help, happy to sit down and chat with them, spend an hour or two. I mean, it might not lead to an engagement, but at least might help them get prioritized, look at things that they could work on themselves, and maybe it would end up being some business.
I think one of the things that's important for our members to know is, like, as consultants, that first conversation is always free, right?
Yeah.
And
much like a lawyer.
And whether or not they take the advice, right? You know, you at least want to get them down the path that you think they can to get their business to the next level. And Tim is a great recommendation. If somebody's out there struggling and in their business and they need another set of eyes out there, you know, get them to Tim. Let them take that second set of eyes and see if we can help some people get to the next level or get out of wherever the trend that they're on.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes they just need a little bit of shaking up. Grab them by the collar and give them a little bit of a shake and let them look at things a little bit differently. And that's one of the values that I bring in an engagement with a client.
Tim Dixon with Apex Consulting.
Yeah.
You've been buzzed.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.